Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of the Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there is John Fairbanks. How you doing, John?
Hello, Tyler.
And special guest today from Springfield Strength and Conditioning in Springfield, Missouri, Dylan. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing great today.
Dylan Harris. I pronounced that right. It's not Missouri. It's Harris. Anyway. So Dylan is a graduate of the Gear Academy. He spent about a couple years with the Gear Academy, year and a half, 2 years. And in that time, there's been a lot of things established. We've been paving a lot of pathways for this gym, and it's really cool to see Dylan out there continuing to kill it. The gym is continuing to be successful. And so we wanted to share with you guys who are listeners the specific things that Dylan does really well. But his gym does really well. It's not just Dylan, but it's that the staff does well, that the community rallies behind. And I think that it's a model that is one of my favorite aspects of, I think, the new potential of what gyms can be, because very often when we talk about a fitness model, it's like Globo Gym and very little coaching, or it's a Globo Gym and very cookie cutter, low level coaching, or it's very coached like classes, or small studio only stuff, where it's just basically a personal trainer in a space. And you guys have kind of blended a lot of those things together, and I think created a system that I think covers a lot of bases in somebody's lifetime fitness journey and allows them to have expertise and companions and the opportunity to build community through all of this. I think you have not the best of two worlds, the best of many different worlds. And I think that's pretty commendable. So thanks for joining us today, Dylan. Dylan, tell me about your gym. When did you guys open up?
We got the keys October of 2018, and I kind of moved my personal training clients over to there. I'd already been doing personal training for, I think, almost 8 years at that point. So I moved them over there with me while I kind of got things operating. And then January of 19, we made it public and opened it to everybody.
Okay. And were you, at that time, when you opened, was this a gym that was existing?
No.
Okay, so you built it, you equipped it and everything like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What was that process like?
Our whole thing was, yeah. I was already personal training out of like an Anytime Fitness and kind of maxed out on hours, about what you can probably charge, in Springfield. It's kind of a low cost of living here. We didn't have kids yet. We just wrapped up, both me and my wife both wrapped up our masters, and was kind of just thinking like, what can we do to increase revenue, or where can we go from here? Because I'm kind of, I'm maxed out. So the answer was volume of some sort. So I found a cheap warehouse, and the plan was to outfit it and just do some small group training by myself, semi-private type stuff, and then some athletic development, because that was something I've always had a passion for, but didn't have the space for it at like an Anytime Fitness. And then I opened that, was going pretty good. We started letting a couple of friends come in, and their friends wanted to come in. And so that's how the whole 24-hour thing kind of started.
Okay.
Like, that was never part of the plan. But it kind of organically evolved into that and ended up being a nice little passive income right there.
So it was going to be a studio with maybe some performance-based stuff, some space, maybe some group stuff for specific needs.
Yeah, my whole goal was just increase the number of people I could see as a trainer with like the semi-private model.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took off from there.
I think that's a really, we talked with Tyler, was that last week, John? It'd be 2 weeks if you're
Couple
listening,
weeks.
I think, to this one, but same deal. It's kind of evolved a little bit from what he wanted or for what he had originally intended. And I think it's important as gym owners for you guys listening is to constantly be identifying opportunities, much like when you were maxed out as a personal trainer, Dylan, you go, okay, well, I guess this is what this is. It's like, well, no, okay, we're here. We'll always have this. What can I do to level that up? And I think that you've taken that same mindset to the gym, in developing new programs and the new whatever new pathways and entry levels that the gym has developed over these last few years is, I think, really, really cool. Now, go ahead, John.
Having this very natural and organic growth plan which I would love to be able to say that you had it planned that way all along.
Yeah, not a chance.
But you know what I mean? Like but and honestly, that's when the best stuff is working the way it's supposed to, is when it almost is like, yes, Dylan had a 5-year plan. He had a 10-year plan, and this was all part of the plan. But because it was growing naturally, you just went with whatever was there.
Exactly.
How do you make that transition? So you are game, I need more space. So I get myself more space just so I can be doing essentially just a personal training studio. How do you allow yourself to have people that now are interested, that want to come in, but they don't necessarily want to be coached like directly by you? And it almost opens that door to 24-hour access, where now it's that open gym. It seems to be a thing where it would be, if I'm in your shoes, if I imagine it would be almost really difficult. You'd be like covetous of like, no, I do high quality personal training. I make sure you're doing the right things. I don't just want a Planet Fitness. I don't just want, this to turn into like every other 24, all the negative aspects that we can think of, but you allowed yourself, I want to say like give a little bit and allow that to open up. How do you make that transition mentally?
I mean, it wasn't entirely difficult at first because a lot of the people interested started out as friends of ours and then friends of theirs. And so it was, it wasn't just like total randoms coming in out of nowhere to the gym. So that made it a little bit easier. And then also, I've always had a pretty big online training presence too. I had a lot of clients in the area that I programmed for online that were training at other gyms. And so we kind of packaged up a deal there where it was like, hey, I'm doing your programming. What if I can get you a little bit better membership rate? You come over here, you do your programming here at the gym, and we can cross paths face to face more often. And so a lot of those initial 24-hour gym memberships were also originally just online clients that were somewhere else.
Yeah. So your feelings weren't hurt too. It wasn't like you were trying to sell personal training and people kept coming in and go, nah, man, you're just closer to my house.
Yeah.
You didn't get your feelings.
No, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, like, I just saw it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
We risked a lot opening the place. So it was easy for me to say yes to any opportunity to make a few bucks.
Yeah.
And so every one of those people that came in the door, and the way the place was outfitted is you didn't walk into it and look at it and think, oh, this is another 24-hour Globo gym, or it's not. You walked into it and thought, like, these guys mean business. They're pretty serious. There's not a lot of, fluff in here. So it kind of attracted the people that were supposed to be there, and the people that wanted a lot of machines and stations and stuff. It just didn't attract them.
Yeah.
And so it kind of naturally filtered everything.
And how long does it take then before that is the perception, right? Once you get going, you get some social media stuff, word gets out, there's people there. How long does it take before you're not getting inquiries? Maybe you still do. You get inquiries a lot where it's like, oh, they walk in and go, oh, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, we do sometimes. I mean, it's kind of funny. Pictures make everything look bigger. And so sometimes people will walk in the door and the first thing that comes out of their mind is go, oh, it's not as big as I thought.
And you're like, oh, my heart.
Yeah, but it's
not done. I've heard it's fine. People are happy.
Right.
People are happy with it.
Above average. And so
your gym. Where's your gym? Let's see your gym.
Yeah. So, I've had those moments and I've had my mind made up from the get-go that I wasn't a 24-hour gym, and I still have that mindset that I am not trying to compete with the 24-hour gyms in the area or the big Globo gyms and stuff. So when somebody does come in and it's not what they're looking for, they're disappointed, I'm not upset about it at all. It's just not who we were after. But now I have a lead. I've taken their contact, and so now I can follow up with them down the road or something and keep them updated on what's going on around the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that gives you opportunities too, as people, the subject we always talked about in the Gear Academy and is that people have a lifetime fitness journey. Mm-hmm. And that if somebody goes through maybe a generic 24-hour, a purple, red, or blue place, whatever one's there, a few shades of purple and some reds, whatever those are that are out there, they they seem accessible to people, because that's often what people think of. If you haven't started a gym, that's kind of what you want. I want all the options. I want the lowest price. I want to get in, and over a year, 2 years, maybe that doesn't work, or maybe they don't like the vibe, or maybe they don't get any opportunities to get served better, or they just simply need a change of pace. They know what yours is different. And I do think it's kind of wild, when you see just in some smaller markets, you see people bounce from nearly identical gyms. You know what I mean? It's like there'll be like 2 or 3 in any like reasonable radius usually, right? Where it's like they do the same thing. It's all the same equipment. It's mostly the same. And they'll rattle around there for a little bit, or they'll stay in one knowing that the others are the same. And what you then represent is a change when they do want something different. And so I'm sure you get some people that as years go by, they go, okay, you know what, that place, it's whatever it is, it's not this, and this isn't working. And so I think being very publicly clear about what you are and not hiding it, while still making sure that that people are aware of what you can do for them, and what really it is you offer and what sets you apart is important. One of the things we talk about, from everything from hiring people to getting good leads, is I want to filter out. I just don't want bodies. I do want to filter out misalignment. You know what I mean? If somebody's poorly aligned with what I have, I don't want to spend extra money for 10 times as many leads if most of them are bad and they're just not interested. That's a waste of my time and effort. So if I can be very early on in my social media, in my marketing, in my correspondence with people, and the way I react to leads, the way I set expectations, and expectations start from, your website, your social media presence, all this stuff. If that stuff gets aligned early on, it's so much easier. The effort is so much easier because you get to actually attract the people who are really ready. So that's almost even faster. Your wins are faster, easier wins, and there's more of them. And then the ones that you lose on, they may not be interested before they even waste any of your time. And that kind of fucking rules, So I think that that's helped you quite a bit, is the fact that you are different. And even though there is 24-hour access as a possibility, it's not the same thing. And I think that's really, really helpful. Let's talk about the other programs that you guys run as well. Because let's start on this first. For gyms that have 24-hour access, or just access only, whether it's 24-hour or not, most of them, John, what do you think the ratio is? We've ballparked this for some that we work with, but I bet it's not only less than 10%, very likely less than 5%, or even less than half that percent of the people that are their members that actually ever, not just currently, but ever do a coached product, whether it's a group class, or whether it's personal training, or whether it's a challenge or a nutrition thing or anything like that. Most 24-hour gyms, it's such a low percentage of the people that are getting guidance from a professional in any way, which is your opportunity as a business owner to have upsells. Like, that's where, if you want anything above and beyond your base membership, that's what that means, unless you're selling shirts or supplements or whatever. And I think that your ratio, when we talked about this, you were at like between 70 and 80% of your people, of your members, are paying for programming, coach classes, private sessions, at least in some capacity, whether it's all they're doing or a piece of it. And God damn it, do I love that. That was one of my favorite things here. And we were working with you in the Gear Academy, because the centerpiece of what we want is client success. And these people are, having a professional take you from A to Z guarantees that you go from A to B to C to D and all the way through. And if you don't have a professional, there's a lot of wandering around out of sequence that can happen. So I think let's talk about how that, I guess that's probably always been the case, hasn't it, for you? Because of the way you opened?
Yeah. Coming from having a personal training background and already being established and known in the area for it and things like that, the first thing people tend to think about when they think about us or whatever is that we offer training, and that's what we do, is train people. The 24-hour thing and stuff, people, it's more like an amenity. That's instead of being like, we're not a 24 hours gym, we're a personal training gym that has,
you can also come and train on your own. Yeah.
And so I think most people perceive it that way as well. I mean, occasionally we'll get a purely organic lead that comes through something that's not real familiar with me or anything, that might be a little, confused by what we offer. But the bulk of everybody that reaches out, it usually starts with training, which makes it easier for us for sales. Is we're not having to upsell a whole lot. Most people that walk through our doors or reach out, they're already know they're looking for coaching.
They want a service.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I think, makes that fucking job a lot it's a lot easier. And John, we've noticed this too, is where do we see most when gyms that are trying to add personal training or grow their personal training? Sometimes personal training is a thing these gyms don't even make a part of their brands very often. And
just like you said, it's an amenity. It's the exact inverse of what you're talking about, Dylan.
Yep.
Which is, it's almost as though the personal training is the amenity. Like that is the nice to have, and the 24-hour access, general, big group, whatever it is, your normal access stuff, your lowest stuff is all their focus is on.
Yeah.
And therefore their revenue shows that as well.
And it makes it hard for these brands to launch. And this is, a lot of these gyms really struggle to try to get these programs up and running. And it has nothing to do with really anything other. You need to talk about it often enough, consistently enough. The fact that whatever it took in years, effort, clients, communication to get your reputation to where it was, when people know, when they go to you, oh, I want to be coached, they know what that is. A gym that is selling $40 only memberships and just hoping to get more of those, and then gets a little money hungry and wants to start plugging in personal training, they're kind of fucked, because they're selling, and they're built their whole brand on a very low value product, a low value, low engagement, low chance of client success product. And I say low value like it's mean, but truly it's cheap, which is the definition of low value. And it's really, really, really hard to get someone who comes in wanting $40 a month and to be left alone. It's very tough to get that person to spend $1,000 a month on anything. Like, that's just, I would never do that in almost anything that I do as a consumer. And so when you flip that on its head, at the very least, you need to do what you've done, which is like, this is our bread and butter. This is the thing we do well. Not everyone's going to come in if your gym's trying to launch some new personal training, not everybody is going to come in geared up for your personal training, but you'll start to get more. And that's usually how it's got to be. So for you gyms out there that are listening, if you're wondering why you can't get it up and running, you're not talking about it enough. You haven't talked about it often enough. The few wins that you've got, usually they're not capitalizing and getting good testimonials and really leveraging referrals and things like this from the successes you have. And you're not done. You just haven't done it for long enough, consistently enough, not just doing it, but promoting it and talking about it and offering it to people. If it gets offered to everybody and that becomes like a 50% part of what your brand is, or at least what your asks are like on social media, on the internet, now all of a sudden people are going to go, oh, that's a thing that I want. I didn't know I could do that there. I never thought of that there. And I think they don't understand, those businesses don't understand the groundwork that you put in to be able to do this. So when we rave about 70 or 80% of your people are in a coach product, it's like, well, that basically means everybody. That's really kind of what that means in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, when you walk in our gym, if you're in the gym between 5 a.m. and maybe 7 p.m., it's not hidden. I mean, it's right there. You're seeing 5 or 6 coaches working with somebody or a small group of people all throughout the day. And so, like, you see coaches on the floor nonstop. So the product's in your face. If you're coming to the gym during the day, our top product is in your face the whole time you're trying to just do your workout on the side.
Yeah. That's
no better marketing.
That's the best concept that we have too for Megan and myself, where we work out of, is I only coach when it's not very busy. I don't have patience for a busy gym. Megan coaches some evenings, so it's busy. It's busy around there. A couple of times I've had to go in the evenings, and there's pictures of me on the wall and stuff, and it says that I have personal training and all the personal trainers and coaches, and there's offers up on the wall and stuff like this. But I coach just one night when it's actually busy in there, and I get like 4 leads following up, and that is the reality. Is if you guys are out there trying to get personal training up and running, Get it going. Your gym should be busy. Don't be worried about having somebody working with the coach on the side. That you're exactly right. That is the best marketing. And the concept behind the reason that's good marketing is not only do they see it, because they're seeing it and that is good. They're seeing a person enjoy it. They're seeing they can put themselves into that position and go, man, I really would. I feel a little lost. It looks like they're getting good instruction. It looks like they're having fun. But what it really gives is proof that people actually buy this shit.
Yeah.
And people forget, if you guys are trying to launch personal training and struggling, what happens is if you're a CrossFit gym or one of those spots where you're like really just trying to build this part of your business to get your coaches some revenue and bring some new money into the business and help your clients better, man, you try to get that up and running at a place that nobody thinks that you sell personal training. If nobody ever sees it, you're screwed. But once people start seeing people that they know, people they've trained with, people that are in front of them, they go, oh, this person thought that it was worth the money. That is, social proof is this fucking wild marketing thing that I kind of hate the idea of. But truly, if you can just prove that other people are interested in this thing, it doesn't even matter what it is. People will move. It's like our herd mentality. Everybody will shuffle towards it once they see other people decided it was valuable, I guess. I've been to places where people just stand in line because there's a line. And it's kind of that concept works. I know you're doing better than that, but that is like a really hefty part of that is if people are seeing that other people chose to do this thing and choose to spend money on it, it's a huge win.
Can we also talk about the psychology of herd mentality for your staff? Like if we're talking about staffing, if you've got a bunch of coaches that are busy, they're working all the time, they are working with clients, they're making good money. If you're somebody new, or let's say you're somebody that is a little bit long in the tooth, because I guarantee you, any of you gym owners that have been working with anybody, if anyone's been your right-hand man or your right-hand person for long enough, they may not be as motivated as they once were all those years ago when you got them. And they're starting to slack off. Well, if you have a bunch of people like all doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing, and it's all over the place, it really highlights and spotlights who's not pulling their weight.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things that I thought, can we talk? I don't want to go into too deep on your staffing, but I really liked, Dylan, where you came to us and it was more abnormal than I was used to, where you had a handful of folks that were like full-time coaches with you.
Yeah. So one of my goals with opening the gym and everything is, I wanted to have careers for people. I wanted to pave a path for careers. And, I still look back and I don't know if it was a mistake or not, but I decided to really just invest in these guys and say, here, you get a salary. This is your base. And it was, good for the time they're putting in and stuff. And you can make some extra money with commission and stuff. And those guys are still here. They've been around for 6 years.
Yep.
So that job was accomplished, or that goal. These guys are having careers. They've all bought houses. They've all got families. And so that stuff's going good. It was a little bit of a headache on me at first until we started to get that, investment back out of the product. But we got there.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things is you sometimes you got to buy the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we gotta strap a wagon to them and we got to go. And I think that was one of the pieces is it's not just that we can hire the guys. It's like, okay, well now what do we do to get the most out of them for the other task, but how do we get people in front of them, which is a marketing thing, which isn't always them, and how do we let them leverage their own personal brands and relationships? How do you make sure that if they're your guys that they feel a part of the brand, that when you're promoting them as much as you're promoting the business, because that's who the people are going to be working with. But it was really nice to see, over the time that we worked together with you, Dylan, that man, all of a sudden it's like, all right, these boys are busy and like the schedules are full and there's like good revenue and you've added staff since then, right?
Yeah. And that was, a lot of props to you guys for the push on that. Cause that was something that I sat on the fence for too long until I think we had just one conversation with y'all. It was basically like, do it. And we brought a guy on and it was like, boom, we got $5,000 more a month or something rolling in.
Yeah, it was like that. And then
That's
the
what it
answer
was.
the
Yeah.
answer was we were like, well, Dylan, I don't want to just make this all about math, but I feel like that's our easiest way to scale. And if as long as everybody we put in, we keep busy and they got to kill what they eat, or at least to a certain extent, like shit. And I think that was the moment where we saw you guys really turn the corner. I think because you're like, oh, cool. Like now the thing had momentum. There was inertia to all of this now. But like you knew how to get someone on, how to kind of onboard them, how to get them clients, how to make sure that they're making the most of their opportunity as well. And by the way, for full-time or part-time people, now like you can bring someone on if they want to coach a couple hours a day. Fucking sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
So I've started to lean more into that. You know, I started out so much trying to be like, okay, I want to build careers for these guys full time. You know, this is where they work. And I've started to lean more into okay, I've got those guys. Let's be okay with some people that are coming in and doing part-time, making good money for their hours they're in anyways.
I think a passionate side hustle is a thing that people sleep on a lot. A passionate job, even not even a side job, a second job. My passion for fitness was all running concurrent with a completely different career. And it wasn't until I had the opportunity to like, okay, I got to get in and make this my work that I did. So for some people that's the case, but I also got gym owners that I know who like, are in tech space and running like tech security, who are never ever leaving this cush stay-at-home job that they have. And so they're good for the few hours a day they put in on the gym, and there's no desire to detach from the other thing. And I think that that's okay. And I think as long as you identify the right people, how many hours they put in probably isn't as important as, are you always coaching people to people like you? And now you can, every new person you plug in, you get access to an entire new social circle. The hardest thing is having the right people, but what's the word? Being resistant to bringing somebody new into the fold is where everybody's worried about their coaching and their gym. We hold it all so close to our chest, and we eat our hat a lot because of it, because we're so worried, and we leave a lot of opportunity on the table. It's like sometimes you got to hire somebody. You just got to hire them and you got to turn it loose, and maybe it doesn't work. We always, short of, like we said before, short of bringing them on and paying someone's salary and then trying to build work in underneath. As long as they got to kill what they eat right away, it's a very little risk, short of like the few people that you get put in front of them right away. So we get them on a short leash, and most people who are actually interested in working in fitness, like, aren't that bad. Like the industry gets a bad rap, but like most people who are doing it not for the sake of their ego, which you can usually sniff this out after a long enough time, like those people kind of fucking rule, and they're kind of meant to do it. And for someone who's new coming in to get connected with someone who really likes fitness enough to come in and coach outside of their day job, fuck, they love that energy, and it works really good. So your clients have now, you've had clients that I'm certain then you've had many that have been with you for a very long time, probably since the beginning, including personal trainer and personal training clients that you're working with regularly. Do you have we talk about a downsell, and do you have people, or how common is it when people are like, hey man, personal training was the thing where I wanted to get started, and they want to, maybe people can't afford personal training forever. Is that a common thing where people will kind of downgrade to maybe like a session a week and train on their own? Or is there a lot of like kind of hybrid relationships you guys have as people maybe downgrade their monthly expenses with you?
We don't see it a lot, but it has happened. And my downsell on them usually, they've enjoyed everything, and they're knowledgeable enough to kind of know what they're doing. Most of them just downsell to online training, keep coming in, they get the programming.
Still get a membership. They're still paying for a base.
So, every once in a while on a new phase or something, somebody might say, hey, can I pay you to come in for a session? Just kind of go over this and then cut them loose again. And that's kind of been our biggest downsell.
Yeah. I think that is your upsells, I think, are important for everybody. I think everyone's upsells into nutrition or accountability or specific challenges, or upselling into personal training or group. I think that is important for a business, but I think your ability to downsell is where true retention lies. Because if somebody hires me for personal training, it's 2-3 days a week, very likely they're not going to want to do that forever. personally, the way I coach too is I have very few people that I would run that relationship with for more than a year. Because I'd like to get you on your own. I'd like to get you on your own 2 legs. But I'd always be happy to coach someone 1 day a week while I know they're going to the gym the other times. And that is now, I think, the fact that that happens and is a part of your overall system. I think that's what keeps people in your gym, keeps them training, keeps them off the couch, and covers such now a really wide amount of time in their lifetime fitness journey. Want to touch on your group stuff too. You guys do weightlifting programs and kind of some adult classes as well.
Yeah, like specialty group type stuff.
Specialty group stuff.
Yep.
And you have a separate coach for each one of those, correct? That are kind of
I kind of call them, like I got a head of our athletic development and a head of our adult, we call it our adult performance class. And they do tend to lead most of the classes, but we got, now that we have some other guys part-time, they'll fill in sometimes.
Yeah.
But we have athletic development. We've had that from the beginning, and I kind of passed that on to an intern we had whenever my schedule, I just needed to loosen up. I kind of passed that torch to him to be the head of it. He does the programming. I mentored him a little bit on kind of how I want things to be done, but he could have his own little flair on there. And so he's taken that and ran with it. And that same guy, he has a passion for Olympic weightlifting. So he pitched me the idea of, can we do a weightlifting club? It's like, yeah, I'll fund it. We'll get it going and stuff. And so that's kind of been going on the side there.
Yeah.
And then the adult small group thing, of all the stuff we do, that one's probably been the slowest growing one. And I really feel like one of our biggest hiccups is we don't offer enough hours for it. We don't have a great space for it. But we offer a small group. It's usually up to like 6 people. And they just come in and do a workout together.
I think that's such a practical take on it too. It's like, you know what I mean? Is we all want to be able to I would love to be able to run just full CrossFit classes while also having this and also functional fitness classes. But like, I think the reality of it is that it's like, wow, when? So many gyms I think do make that mistake of not understanding just when people can train, and that's going to be your biggest barrier to anything with classes, frankly, even personal training. Dylan, if you had 1 hour available for personal training a week, whatever hour that is, it's very unlikely that the person who's going to inquire about that hour, that's the hour they would train. Yep. And I think that, knowing that with your class, with the group class, is just kind of, you can keep it in its space, you can build it for what it is, but knowing its limitations, I think, is important. So,
yeah.
Before we shut down here, I want to, because you got into this gym, you started this gym because you were maxed out, right? You were like, you have an eye for the next thing. And so that's the question. And we didn't get into this with you after the Gear Academy. So we want to get into it now. What does the next stuff look like for you? Because I know you're not the person who's going to sit here and go, okay, well, we're just going to run this. I know you're going to run it for a while, but once whatever this peaks, like, what are your next moves? What are the next angles, or what are the next things you're trying to promote?
Well, I mean, this actually times out kind of funny with that question and everything. We put an offer on a building last night.
Yo,
is that the photo that I saw on Facebook?
No,
aerial photo?
The photo you saw was a piece of property we bought back before COVID.
Okay.
With intentions of possibly building on it one day and, having a gym and having some additional properties to lease and stuff. We kind of got an opportunity that fell in our lap for a property that's not even listed yet. We kind of got first dibs on it.
Yeah.
That really, I sat on it for maybe 3 weeks and I was like, I can't let this pass.
Yeah.
So we put an offer in last night. Hopefully, we'll see if we can meet them somewhere or whatever. I mean, we're talking just over 3 times the size of the space we have now. And it'll open the door so now we're hoping to, really make a push on athletic development. We've always been kind of capped out on athletic development because of space. Being able to run classes alongside athletic development space, so that's kind of our push is going to be there and push some of the group stuff. It's going to be just a giant, personal training service gym. Everybody keeps asking, I've talked to a few people. We haven't told a whole lot of people, but, one of the questions is all like, what kind of equipment we're going to put in. I'm like, not a lot of extra equipment. We're getting space.
Right.
We'll have like 3,000 square foot of turf, things like that. And so that's how it's all mapped out. Whether or not it works out, who knows? But we're thinking bigger already, and yeah.
Well, Dylan. Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's super great for us to hear. John and I think you had hinted at such things.
Well, at the very beginning, I felt like it was one of those things where it was like, what would be a great goal? You're like, I think we need to grow. I think I want to eventually get a new building. And we're like, all right, like that's a nice, big, beefy goal. And only to be like 2 years from you kind of putting that out into the world. I'm sure it's been longer. Obviously, you bought property before COVID, but
yeah, we've had the vision for a long time. I'm an ambitious person, and I'm also, I'm confident, and we've got a great team that I have faith in to make the push, for a bigger space. We've got a great internship program going now. Like we have.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because we know that, but share what this internship program is and how you're taking advantage of where you're located.
Yeah, so we have 3 more major universities here in Springfield. And I think all 3 have some degree of like an exercise science type offering for people. But over the last close to 3 years, we've usually had, 1 or 2 interns every semester. We've converted some of them to part-time employees and whatnot. We end up putting them to work in our group stuff and having them help out there. And it kind of helps me to see how helpful it is to have another body.
You can decide, you can kind of dip your toes in the water a little bit.
Yeah, I get to use those guys and be like, okay, the quality of that product was a lot better having 2 people around. What can we do with this? And so it's been helpful for me a lot to see that. But yeah, our goal at the bigger place is if we get that, is I'd like to continue to make a big push for having an awesome internship program. We had a kid this last semester that said, their teacher, his plug was, if you guys want the place to get your internship, this is the place. So we're getting acknowledged at the university and stuff as kind of, if you guys are really interested in this type of thing, this is your place to go.
Yeah.
And so we want to take that pretty serious.
In that program, there's so much opportunity with that, because now not only you're not hiring people from off the streets, you know what I mean? You know how it is. There's in any area, you're getting people who are new to coaching very often, or attaching a couple hours to it, to get people young and excited, fresh out of the box, and you can maybe rattle the university brain out of their head a little bit too when they get in and be like, stop it, you don't know everything, let's get into start coaching people. And some of that I think is really, really important, that we can get people early actually in front of people and figuring out what goes on in a gym. But that now is, your ability to grow is nearly endless if you always have like good coaching, passionate coaching talent coming in that now knows your system. Your ability to on-ramp them is that they're already familiar with people in your gym, for Christ's sakes, and all of a sudden, man, sky's the limit. Buddy.
Yeah, and that was another thing was, I was kind of nervous about having interns in and having them help us out with, they'll even help out some with one-on-ones and having them do some of the small group stuff, and being worried that like our clients would not like that, but we haven't had any problems with clients being like, well, I'm paying for this guy to be here, I don't want this guy working with us. And honestly, people have taken to it really well. And we haven't literally every intern we've had has been like really good people ready to learn. Like I've been really impressed with it. We haven't had, any meatheads or anybody to come in like they own the place or know one better than anybody. And I think a lot of that just goes back to, I think when you walk in our door, like you kind of know the place you're walking into. They're like, oh, this isn't one of those places.
Yeah.
And so we've attracted awesome interns.
And culturally, you've done the hard work up front. You took the risk. You brought people on when you had no business just putting people on salary. You had no business at all. It was a terrible idea, right? But because you stick with it and those guys are the right guys, and all those intangibles that allow it to be successful, you zoom ahead now so many years later, and the only way this stuff just seems to just magically work is because you did all that up front. Because now when young folks are coming in or new coaches are coming in, they're not coming into a situation where they're the second coach or they're the third coach. No. There's like a season of, like Tyler said, right, is of seasoned horses that are there. They know how to do the shit. They're going to show you how. You're going to have lead by example on top of actually communicating it. And then when new folks come in, they're like, oh, this is just how I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And hopefully it helps some of those rough edges that maybe they do have, where they got to come in and they've got big brain and they're going to like try and fuck everything up because now they know. And it's like, no, kid, there's no time for that. This is how we're doing it. And you have so many examples.
Your program
That's
gives
awesome.
these students an immediate chance to put context into everything that they do. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that I find when kids come out of an exercise science program. They get like, it's almost like catty, or they all become internet influencers where it's like, this exercise is better than this, or you know what I mean? It's all weird, argumentative, know-it-all shit. And it's very irritating because when you park sometimes as people in front of a person, there's nothing. It's just nothing. And so I think being able to very early on have these people in a place where a lot of times exercise science students, when they are doing their internships, they're manning a desk at a 24-hour gym and mopping the floors every once in a while, wiping
Working
stuff
at the
out. That's
Y.
just it. And so, yeah, you're mopping up the steam room once a night. And so this at least gives immediate context to the thing that they're passionate about, which allows them to actually go to work and be treated like a professional in this space. So they don't have to come out and there's nothing worse than the flailing of a new exercise science graduate out into the world. It's frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
I just want you coaching people. Just coach, bro. So it's really awesome. You create a great opportunity for your clients, tremendous opportunities for your employees, and now you're building lots of great opportunities for this whole new upswell of coaches coming up underneath you, Dylan. I think it's really commendable. We're super proud. It's been an honor for us to work with you directly and to see the development of you guys, your family, the staff over at Springfield Strength and Conditioning. So want to tell you thanks for working with us over the last couple of years, and thanks a bunch for coming on the show. Dylan, how can they get a hold of you, or how can people check out your gym?
The website's springfieldstrengthandconditioning.com, and you spell out the "and" on that. Email is Dylan, DYLAN, at springfieldstrengthandconditioning.com. You can find us at Instagram. It's at SPFLD_SC.
That's it. All right, guys. Dylan, thanks a bunch. Everybody that's listening, all our shit. We drop it every week, so we won't do it today. We'll see you next week.
Yep.